There's a lot going on in China. The president of China, Xi Jinping, has issued a new historic resolution to cement his leadership as a head of the CCP going forward. There's only been two similar resolutions from CCP leadership in the past 80 years or so or 100 years actually, of the CCP's leadership in that country. And basically what this means is Xi has the ability going forward to kind of control the party and therefore China. The past two resolutions were momentous in the fact that they kind of altered how, like, the very fabric of how China was working. Mao, for example, was the first party leader to give out one of these resolutions, and that empowered him to create a lot of cultural shifts within China over the next 20 or 30 years of his rulership. So to see like another resolution of this magnitude in 2021 means that China is going a little bit more authoritarian. There's a push towards a cult of personality, as what it's called, as opposed to a lot of the decentralization and more democratic movement that a lot of people have been used to over the last 20 years. Of course, this year we've seen a lot of that cult of personality kind of come out and a lot of those authoritarian tactics. We saw this summer that tech stocks like Didi, which is an Uber in China, was stomped down. Private education stocks were also tamped down. Hong Kong, the protest also ties into this. So really, it's kind of a good landmark or symbol of what's happening in China, that the door is kind of closing for what has been the last 20, 30 years of democratization. Naomi, I'm going to throw this up to you, though, for your take on it.
I mean, did you guys see the tweet that was put out as well from like Communist Party press? It's all like, all of this reads as like, man with a lot of power pats himself on the back and adds himself to a hall of fame. And it's just such an on the nose situation. Like, I did a really great job. I'm going to present myself with this award. And so it really is interesting to see him consolidate power. It's also interesting because 2018, China scrapped the 2-term limit on the presidency, which is what is allowing Xi to basically stay as president for life, potentially. But it's like, if they had a 2-term limit put in place, what's the point of a limit if the leader of the party could just come in and then say, actually, I'm going to scrap this thing that's meant to limit my power? Like, what? I mean, I just don't understand how things like that have any teeth at all. Like, I would presume that China, behind the scenes, I mean, it's very opaque how everything is run there, but I presume behind the scenes, you've probably got all these very bureaucratic boards who are also determining things. It's not just Xi who is in control. But if they were able to scrap the 2-term limit, it seems that was most likely driven by Xi, who wants to retain power. And if he has such control over the board, what good is having a board in the first place? So it's just very interesting situation, what's going on. Interesting to see what's going to happen with crypto there. I don't suspect that they're going to overturn any of the crypto bans anytime soon, because everyone knows crypto is a threat to government. Whether you like it or not, it does put power back in the hands of the individual and does take it away from the state. So I do not see that being reversed anytime soon in China. But George, I saw your hand go up, so I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, well, I want to latch on to your use of the word decentralization. This article is one of the first times in a really long time I've seen the word decentralization that wasn't referencing some sort of crypto project, which is kind of interesting, right? And they're saying that Xi is turning back decades of decentralization, which is certainly interesting from even just an economic perspective, right? Depending on who you ask or which data point you reference, China's likely the biggest, greatest economy in the world in terms of pure output. But that didn't come over the past 1 or 2 years. It happened on the back of decades of decentralization. So it originally became as a bit of surprise to me that, pulling back decentralization was being cited as a reason for this resolution. And I wouldn't call myself an expert on China, but then I thought about it for a second. I was like, well, of course this would happen, right? China banned crypto. Of course they're not going to want any sort of decentralization or westernization. I'm going to end my point there because I'm going to embarrass myself. I don't know that much about China. So Jen, come save me.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to save you, but I will. I wanted to get your perspective as the, I guess, history guru on the panel from a historical perspective. What does this really, like, what can we learn from the past? I mean, I think we've all seen what's happened with tech and media in China over the past few years and really, really vividly, I think, over the past few months. What does this mean? And coming off the back of what George was saying, when we think about China as a superpower, this really just like how how do they operate as a superpower when everything is so closed and getting more and more closed by the day?
Yeah, I don't have any expert opinions myself. I'll reiterate a few I've seen online. That being that there's a lot of comparisons between what China is doing right now and different periods of the Soviet Union. Of course, like Soviet Union, the US, there was that long Cold War for like 60, 70 years. A lot of people have fears that that's what's happening here with China. Since the Nixon administration back in the 60s and 70s, there was kind of an opening of China and an easing of relationships. And that happened a lot because the Chinese CCP was opening itself up. They were willing to talk with the US and start opening its borders, start opening its markets to more markets outside of itself. Seems to be kind of changing and going back the other way. The pendulum's going the other way, so to speak. Naomi, I'll throw it to you for last thoughts, though.
Yeah, and if you also look at what's going on with Taiwan at the moment, things are really, really heating up over there. So if you haven't been keeping up with it, China is making a play for Taiwan. They've been doing this for a really long time, but in recent months, things have really been heating up to the point where I think you had 6 different countries, including like the Netherlands and Canada and the US, all just bringing battleships into the region to start, to protect Taiwan. But then you had Russia join forces with China saying, like, we think that China's claim on Taiwan is completely legitimate. You had a US warship get chased out of the region by a Russian warship. No one's really talking about this. But things like, I'm watching it very closely. Things are looking pretty dire in that region there. And it's all really just a consolidation of power from Xi. It all leads to the same thing. It's what the crypto ban is all about. It's what the shutdown of all these giant tech industries is all about. It's what the reclaiming of Taiwan is all about. But we'll see what happens there.